The city park was full of people that morning, and most of them had come only to watch the police training show and then go home. Families stood behind metal barriers and children sat on their parents' shoulders while officers prepared the event with calm faces and practiced steps. A police dog named Max walked beside his handler with perfect focus, and his black fur shined under the sunlight. Everything looked normal and quiet, and no one expected anything strange to happen that day. The demonstration began with simple commands, and Max followed each one without hesitation. He moved fast when told and stopped instantly when signaled, and the crowd clapped with approval. The officer smiled with pride and nodded to the people watching. The dog had done this many times before and never once caused trouble. But when the final command was given and the officer tried to guide Max away from the open area, something unexpected happened. Max stopped walking and sat down suddenly. His body became stiff and his ears stood straight. The officer tugged the leash gently and repeated the command in a firm voice. Max did not move. The officer tried again and again, but the dog stayed in place. A small laugh moved through the crowd because many thought the dog was being playful or tired. But the officer did not laugh, and his face slowly turned serious. Max lifted his head and looked toward the edge of the crowd. His eyes were fixed on a little girl standing alone near a tree. She was small and thin and wore an old blue jacket that looked too big for her. Her hair was tied back loosely and her shoes were worn and dusty. She held a small backpack with both hands as if it was the only thing keeping her steady. She did not smile and she did not move. The officer followed the dog's gaze and noticed the girl. He tried once more to pull Max away, but the dog leaned forward instead. His paws pressed into the ground and a low sound came from his chest. It was not anger, and it was not fear. It was something between concern and warning. The crowd grew quiet as people sensed that something was wrong. Max slowly stood and walked toward the girl without pulling the leash. The officer walked with him because he had no choice. The dog stopped right in front of the child and sat down again. He did not bark, and he did not wag his tail. He only looked up at her face with deep focus. The girl looked surprised and took a step back. Her eyes were wide, but she did not scream. The officer quickly moved in front of the dog and asked the girl if she was okay. She nodded once but did not speak. Her hands shook slightly as she tightened her grip on the backpack. Max leaned forward and lowered his head near her knee. The officer froze because this behavior was not part of any training. The dog was acting on instinct and instinct alone. People began whispering, and many lifted their phones to record. Some thought the dog had sensed danger, and others thought the girl might be lost. A woman from the crowd called out and asked where the girl's parents were. The girl did not answer. She only looked down at Max and then back at the officer. The officer asked for her name in a gentle voice. After a moment she spoke softly and said her name was Lily. Her voice was calm but carried a weight that felt too heavy for someone so young. When asked why she was there, she said she was waiting. When asked who she was waiting for, she shook her head and said she did not know. The officer tried to step back and guide Max away again, but the dog refused. When Lily took a small step forward, Max stood and walked beside her. When she stopped, Max stopped. When she turned, Max turned. It became clear to everyone watching that the dog would not leave unless the girl moved. He was not blocking her, and he was not guarding her. He was choosing to stay with her. A supervisor arrived and asked for space to be cleared. The crowd stepped back slowly while officers tried to understand the situation. Max stayed calm but alert, and his body stayed close to Lily as if he was protecting something unseen. Lily did not cry, and she did not smile. She simply stood there as if she had been waiting for this moment for a long time. The supervisor knelt down and spoke gently to Lily. He asked if she was hurt or scared. She shook her head. He asked if she was alone. She nodded. When asked where she lived, she hesitated and then pointed toward the city streets beyond the park. She did not give an address, and she did not say more. Max suddenly pressed his nose lightly against the backpack Lily was holding. The officer noticed and asked if he could see inside. Lily looked unsure but slowly unzipped it. Inside were a few clothes, a small bottle of water, and a folded piece of paper. The officer took the paper carefully and unfolded it. His expression changed as he read it. The supervisor leaned in and read it too. No one in the crowd could see what was written, but the mood shifted instantly. The air felt heavier, and the officers exchanged looks filled with concern. The note was short but powerful, and it explained more than anyone expected. The supervisor looked at Lily and asked how long she had been alone. She answered honestly and said since last night. She said she had been walking and sitting and waiting and did not know where to go. She said Max made her feel safe. When asked how she knew that, she said she just knew. The officers decided to take Lily to a nearby station to help her. When they asked Max to step away, the dog refused again. He stayed beside Lily and would only move when she moved. The supervisor finally agreed to let Max walk with her. As they walked away from the park, the crowd watched in silence. No one knew yet why the dog reacted this way. No one knew what the note truly meant. But by the end of that day, the story would spread across the city. People would replay the videos and ask the same question again and again. Why did the police dog refuse to leave the little girl? And the truth behind it would shock everyone. The police station was quieter than the park, and the air inside felt cool and still. Lily sat on a chair near the front desk while an officer brought her a cup of water. Max lay on the floor beside her with his head resting near her feet. He watched every movement around her with sharp focus and did not relax even for a moment. The officers noticed this and whispered among themselves. The supervisor read the note again in a private room, and his hands shook slightly as he folded it back. The note explained that Lily had been separated from her family during a sudden emergency and that someone was supposed to come for her. The note did not give names and did not give a clear place. It only asked whoever found her to keep her safe until help arrived. The words were written carefully but carried fear and urgency. An officer checked missing child reports from the night before. There were several, but none matched Lily exactly. Another officer checked nearby hospitals and shelters. No one had reported a girl like her. Time passed slowly, and Lily stayed quiet. She sipped her water and kept one hand resting on Max's head. The dog did not move away even when another officer tried to distract him. A female officer sat beside Lily and spoke gently. She asked if Lily remembered where she had come from. Lily thought for a moment and said she remembered lights and noise and people running. She said someone told her to wait and promised to come back. She said she waited for a long time. Her voice stayed calm, but her eyes showed deep tiredness. The officer asked if Lily knew why Max stayed with her. Lily looked down and said dogs know when someone is alone. The officer smiled softly but felt a strange chill. Max had worked in rescue situations before and had been trained to find people in danger. He had never reacted like this without a clear reason. It was as if he recognized something about Lily that no one else could see. A call came in from a nearby neighborhood. A woman reported seeing a small girl walking alone late at night with a backpack. She said a large dog had followed her from a distance but did not approach. The officer asked what kind of dog it was. The woman described a retired service dog that lived nearby. This detail caught the attention of the supervisor. The supervisor contacted the owner of the retired dog. The man explained that his dog had been trained years ago to assist children during emergencies. He said the dog often stayed near schools and playgrounds. The supervisor realized something important. Max had trained with that dog during his early years. Dogs learn from each other and share patterns of behavior. The supervisor returned to Lily and asked her if she had met another dog before Max. Lily nodded and said the dog walked with her for a while. She said the dog stayed close until they reached the park. She said the dog then left as if he knew someone else would come. The room fell silent as the officers understood what this meant. Max had sensed something familiar in Lily. He had recognized the calm signals taught during training. Lily did not panic and did not run. She stayed still and patient. Dogs trained for rescue respond strongly to such behavior. Max had not disobeyed commands. He had followed a deeper rule written into his instincts. News reporters gathered outside the station after videos spread online. The city wanted answers. The police department released a short statement saying the child was safe and under care. They did not explain more. Inside the station, Lily was given food and a blanket. Max stayed beside her the entire time. Later that evening, a man arrived at the station looking exhausted and afraid. He held identification papers and spoke with shaking hands. He explained that he was a family friend and had been searching for Lily since the night before. He explained the emergency that forced separation. The details matched the note perfectly. Lily looked up when she saw him. Her face showed relief but also caution. Max stood immediately and placed himself between them. The officers watched closely. The man knelt slowly and spoke Lily's name softly. Lily walked forward and hugged him. Max relaxed for the first time since morning. The officers confirmed the man's story carefully. Everything checked out. Lily was finally reunited with someone she trusted. The supervisor watched Max lie down again and felt a deep respect for the dog. Max had not only followed training. He had followed heart and memory and instinct combined. Before leaving, Lily turned back and hugged Max gently. She whispered, "Thank you." Max wagged his tail once and watched her walk away. The station felt different after that. The officers knew they had witnessed something rare. That night the city talked about the police dog who refused to leave a little girl. Many thought it was luck. Others thought it was destiny. But those who were there knew the truth was quieter and deeper. A trained heart had recognized a waiting soul. And that truth would change how the city saw its protectors forever. The next morning the city woke up with Lily and Max's story on every screen and phone. People shared the video again and talked about the moment the dog refused to move. News channels showed slow clips of Max sitting beside Lily and following her steps. The city felt touched and confused at the same time because no one expected a police dog to show such deep emotion. At the police station, officers gathered in the break room and talked about what had happened. Some said it was training and others said it was instinct. One officer said dogs see things people miss. Another said Max acted like he had known Lily for years. The supervisor listened quietly and thought about the quiet moments he had seen in Lily's eyes. Max returned to duty that day, but his handler noticed something different. Max stayed alert but calmer than usual. He walked with steady steps and checked his surroundings more carefully. During a patrol near the park, Max stopped again and looked around. He did not sit this time, but his body language showed memory. The handler let him pause for a moment and then they continued walking. Meanwhile, Lily stayed at a safe home while officials completed the last steps of paperwork. She slept deeply for the first time in days. When she woke up, she asked about Max. The woman caring for her smiled and showed her pictures from the news. Lily touched the screen gently and felt comfort knowing Max was still nearby in the city. A child support worker visited Lily and spoke kindly. She asked Lily about her past days and what she remembered most. Lily said she remembered waiting and listening. She said she trusted that someone would come. She said the dogs helped her feel safe. The worker wrote this down and felt a strange warmth in her chest. Back at the station, the supervisor requested a full review of Max's training history. Records showed that Max had once trained in a special program focused on missing children. He had learned to respond to calm behavior and waiting signals. Dogs trained this way are taught that stillness often means hope rather than danger. Max had followed that rule without hesitation. The department decided to honor Max in a small ceremony. Officers gathered in the station yard and Max stood proudly beside his handler. Cameras were present, but the mood was calm and respectful. The supervisor spoke about loyalty and instinct and trust. He said Max reminded everyone why service animals are more than tools. Lily was invited to attend with permission. When she arrived, Max noticed her immediately. His tail moved slowly, and he walked toward her with care. Lily smiled openly for the first time and knelt down to hug him. The officers stepped back and allowed the moment to happen. It felt important and right. During the ceremony, the supervisor announced that Max's actions had helped protect a child and guide her to safety. He said the city owed Max gratitude. Applause filled the yard, but Max stayed focused on Lily. She whispered to him again and patted his head gently. Max sat still and calm as if listening. After the event, Lily left with the people caring for her. She looked back once and waved. Max watched until she disappeared from view. The handler placed a hand on Max's shoulder and felt proud. He knew this story would stay with him forever. In the days that followed, changes happened quietly. The police department reviewed how they handle children during public events. New training sessions were planned that focused on calm response and patience. Max became a symbol of gentle strength rather than force. Lily began attending school again and slowly returned to a normal routine. She told her teacher about the dog who stayed with her. The teacher listened and shared the story carefully with the class. The children talked about kindness and trust and waiting. Lily felt seen and understood. Sometimes Lily visited the park with supervision. She would sit on the bench where she first met Max. She remembered how quiet the moment felt. She remembered feeling safe even before she understood why. The park no longer felt lonely to her. Max continued his duties, but his reputation followed him everywhere. People smiled when they saw him. Children waved and parents nodded with respect. Max accepted the attention calmly and stayed focused on his work. The supervisor often thought about the note found in Lily's backpack. He kept a copy in his desk drawer as a reminder. It reminded him that not every call for help is loud. Some are quiet and patient and waiting. The city learned something important from that day. Strength does not always look like action. Sometimes it looks like sitting still and refusing to leave. Sometimes protection means staying rather than moving on. And somewhere in the city, a little girl walked with more confidence. And a police dog walked with deeper purpose. Both had changed each other forever. Months passed and the city slowly returned to its normal rhythm, but the story of Lily and Max never truly faded. People still spoke about the day the police dog refused to leave a little girl, and many remembered where they were when they first saw the video. It became one of those stories that stayed alive through quiet conversations rather than loud headlines. Lily settled into a stable home and her days gained structure and warmth. She went to school each morning and carried a new backpack filled with books instead of worry. Her teachers noticed that she listened carefully and waited patiently just like she had in the park. She made friends slowly but honestly, and people felt calm around her presence. Sometimes Lily talked about Max during art class. She drew pictures of a large dog sitting beside a small girl under a tree. Her teacher placed one drawing on the classroom wall. Other children asked about the story, and Lily shared it in simple words. She said the dog stayed because he knew she was waiting. The children listened with quiet respect. At the police station, Max continued his service with steady focus. His handler noticed that Max seemed more aware of children during patrols. He walked slower near schools and parks and watched carefully without tension. The handler trusted Max's instincts even more now and allowed him small moments to pause when needed. The supervisor often watched Max from his office window. He thought about how close the city came to missing something important. If Max had followed the final command without hesitation, Lily might have walked away unnoticed. The supervisor realized that rules guide but instincts protect. The department introduced new training lessons inspired by Max's actions. Officers were taught to observe before reacting and to respect unusual behavior from service animals. Dogs were given space to respond naturally during certain situations. The change was small but meaningful. One afternoon, Lily was invited to visit the station again. This time it was calm and planned. When she entered the building, Max noticed her immediately and walked over with a slow, confident pace. Lily smiled wide and hugged him without fear. The officers stepped aside and allowed the reunion to happen quietly. Lily thanked Max again in her soft voice. She said she was not scared anymore. Max sat beside her and leaned gently against her leg. The handler felt a deep sense of pride and peace. He understood that Max's role went beyond patrols and commands. The supervisor gave Lily a small badge shaped like a paw as a reminder of courage and patience. Lily held it carefully and promised to keep it safe. She said she would remember to wait when things felt hard. The words stayed with everyone in the room. As Lily left the station, she looked back one last time. Max watched her until the doors closed. He then returned to his place and rested calmly. The handler knelt beside him and whispered praise. Max's tail moved once and then became still. Years later, the story continued to be shared. New officers learned about it during training. Children heard it at school assemblies. Parents told it as a lesson about trust and kindness. The story never changed much because the truth did not need decoration. Lily grew older with confidence shaped by patience. She remembered the day she waited and the dog who stayed. When faced with difficult moments, she reminded herself that waiting can be powerful. She learned that being calm can call help in unexpected ways. Max eventually retired after years of service. A small ceremony was held to honor his work. The supervisor spoke again and thanked Max for reminding the city what protection truly means. Max sat quietly as always and accepted the gentle applause. After retirement, Max lived peacefully with his handler. He enjoyed slow walks and sunny afternoons. Sometimes children visited and Max greeted them kindly. He seemed content and fulfilled. The city park remained unchanged, but those who knew the story saw it differently. The bench near the tree became a place of reflection. People sat there and felt a sense of calm without knowing why. The space carried memory. The truth behind the story was not shocking because it was dramatic. It was shocking because it was simple. A trained heart recognized patience. A waiting child was seen. A choice to stay changed everything. The city learned that help does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it sits quietly beside you until you are ready to move. And that lesson stayed long after the crowd went home.